Hey, this is Travis. I'm going to show you my process for staking TAO and for staking Alpha in the Bittensor network. We're going to move TAO from a centralized exchange to my wallet, and then from there we're going to stake that TAO to Root, and then we'll stake it to a subnet, and then we'll unstake it and send it back to an exchange. First, you're going to want to make sure that you have a wallet installed. I use Talisman. Go to talisman.xyz here and then click on download wallet. The Chrome web store will open up here and you'll have the opportunity to click install here. Before doing that though, you'll kind of want to check that there's at least 100,000 users and some ratings here. Sometimes people make fake wallets. And then once you have Talisman installed, you'll be able to click on the extension up here if you add it to your extensions bar here. Once you click full screen, you'll get this screen to pop up here. And then you'll click on settings and then manage accounts and then create a new account. So from this page, you're going to click on new Polkadot account. You can see the T here for TAO, Bittensor TAO. You're going to have a new recovery phrase. So make sure this says generate new recovery phrase. Put in the account name here and then hit create and continue. And then it's going to ask you to write down your recovery phrase here. So my suggestion is to write this down on 2 separate physical pieces of paper, store those in 2 different locations. If anything were to happen to your computer, as long as you have those 12 or 24 word recovery phrase, you can recover all of your funds. Once you've fully set up your wallet here, you'll be able to click on this copy address button and then go down to Bittensor and hit copy on that. And it'll copy your address here. Now let's go withdraw TAO from a centralized exchange. There are many centralized exchanges where you can buy TAO. I'm going to put links to many of them in the description. I happen to have some TAO on my MEXC wallet here, so I'm just going to show that. So let's click here, and then I'm just going to click on TAO. It's going to give me a warning here to make sure that we're withdrawing to the right chain. And then now I'm going to paste my address in here. Just going to double check the network is the Bittensor TAO network, and I'm going to withdraw a little bit over 0.1, and then we can see the fee here, and then we'll just hit submit. Okay, so now I've successfully withdrawn. If we go and look at TAO stats here, and then if you go taostats.io/account and then paste in your address here, then you can see the balance information. I'm just going to hit refresh, and hopefully it'll be 0.2. Yay. And then if we want to, we can actually look at, why can't we see transfer? So yeah, if you click on transfers here you'll be able to see the transfers that have happened. Of course, here's the one that we just sent. Now, of course, in the extension here as well, you can see the balance is 0.2. I just prefer to use TAO stats. It's just a little bit easier to read than the wallet itself. So now that we have TAO in the wallet, we need to determine where to stake. We have 2 options. There is staking to Root or staking Alpha to a subnet. For beginners and veterans alike, you'll very often want to be staking to Root or subnet 0. So we'll start with that. I'll come back to explaining Alpha staking later on in the video. The process for both of them is very similar. Staking to Root is the risk-free option, very similar to staking in other cryptocurrencies. You'll receive approximately 15% APY, though this amount will slowly decline over time as the network incentivizes more staking into Alpha. Now, when you stake on a particular subnet, you must choose a validator to stake with. So when you stake with a validator, this gives that validator a bit more weight or power in Bittensor. The validator will receive more emissions because of your choice to stake or delegate with them. When staking with a validator, there is no risk that you'll lose your Alpha or your TAO. The validator that you stake with doesn't actually hold your investment, nor is there any lockup period. Regardless of the validator that you choose, you still retain full control. And even if the validator disappears tomorrow, you'll still be able to convert your Alpha to TAO and withdraw it at any time. So different validators have different APY, mostly based on their performance. Now, it's currently a little bit difficult to get your exact APY because there's multiple sites that post APYs and they're all slightly a bit different, but they all claim to be exactly correct. So what I do is I just look at a couple of them here. So one of them here is taostats.io/yield. And you can also go to TAO yield. And I just take these numbers that they post here and the numbers that we see here. And then if a validator is near the top in both of those, it's probably going to give you good APY. But first, just looking at the TAO stats yield here, I would go and I would organize by 1 month APY descending. And the reason why I do 1 month here is because that gives me a better idea as to how they perform over time. And since no validator has sponsored this video, we're going to stake with the OpenTensor Foundation. Hint, hint, validators. We're going to go up here to subnets and click on 0 here, Root. And then you'll want to connect your wallet here. You might have to go up here to your extension and grant some permissions to TAO stats, and then select your wallet here. And then to stake to Root, it's as easy as just putting in the amount that you want to stake here. So I'm just going to do 0.1. And then before hitting buy, if you go up here to the gear, you can change your validator. So like I said, I'm going to change it to the OpenTensor Foundation. With staking to Root, there's no slippage worries. So I'll just put it down to 1 and then just hit buy. And there's our small fee. So we're staking 0.1 TAO, and there's going to be a very small 0.00005 TAO fee to do that. That's a flat fee for whatever transaction you're doing. And then this looks right here, so I'm just going to hit approve. Before I do that, what I like to do is drag the window outside, because sometimes on those like phishing sites, they'll put a fake window up here. So I just like to be extra careful, and then hit approve. And now that it's gone through, we can see that my balance has gone down by about 0.1. And then I can look at my wallet balance through TAO stats as well. So on Root, on the OpenTensor Foundation, I have 0.1 TAO, again, minus the fee. And then if I want to unstake, it's really easy. Again, I just put in the amount that I want to unstake here. So I'm just going to put in the max, hit sell. So that transaction has gone through now, and I'm back up to my 0.2 TAO that I started with. So now let's look at alpha staking, otherwise known as buying alpha, or delegating stake, or swapping. All of these mean the same thing. I like to use the term alpha staking. Let's look at this 30-second clip from one of my more recent videos where I explain alpha staking. The link to the full video is in the description. Let's say you want to buy shares in a Japanese company. You're going to have to convert your currency to the country's local currency, the Japanese yen. Once you have yen, you can use it to purchase shares in the company. And once you've purchased shares in that company, you're called a shareholder. Bittensor is no different. Let's say that you want to buy shares in a Bittensor company. In Bittensor, we call these shares alpha. You're going to convert your currency to the local Bittensor currency, TAO. Once you have TAO, you can use it to purchase shares, or alpha, in a Bittensor company, called a subnet. Once you've purchased your alpha, you're called a staker, although the technical term is a delegator or a nominator. So to summarize, you can think of Bittensor as a decentralized country, and staking alpha in a subnet is synonymous with buying shares in a company. And just like when you buy shares, there is a risk when you stake alpha in a subnet. The risk is that if the subnet doesn't perform well, its shares or alpha will decline in value, dragging down the value of your investment with it. There is very high APY when you're staking in subnets. Right now, it's around 80% for most subnets. But again, the risk here is that if your subnet does not perform well, the value of that subnet's alpha token will go down, as will the value of your investment in TAO. So staking alpha is high risk, high reward, whereas staking to Root is a risk-free, lower APY alternative. Let's look at how to stake alpha. So on TAO stats, if you hover over subnets and then go to the subnet that you want to stake to, I'm just going to pick a random one, so we're just going to go with 1. Now the process is basically exactly the same. If we scroll down here and we want to buy a little bit of subnet 1, I'm going to put in 0.1 TAO worth of that. If I click on the gear here, again, I'm going to choose my validator as the OpenTensor Foundation. And then I want to set my slippage here to something that's somewhat reasonable. For a lot of these older subnets, maybe 0.1 will work. You can do anti-MEV tolerance as well. Maybe set this to 0.05. Now, if the slippage on this subnet is really high, then your transaction will just simply not go through. We've got a slippage of 0.001%. So very likely that this will still go through unless the price shifts on us while we're doing the transaction. So I'll just hit buy here. And then you can see here that I'm getting 2.7 alpha of this subnet for my 0.1 TAO. And hit confirm and then hit approve. All right, so the transaction's gone through now. I have 0.1 TAO left and I have 2.7 alpha worth of subnet 1. And then one last thing to be aware of is you can click on the gear here and stake to a different validator for the same subnet. So let's say that I wanted to stake with Rizzo. I can do that here and I can buy a little bit more and hit buy and hit confirm and then approve. And then you can see here in my balance breakdown here, I've got subnet 1 with the OpenTensor Foundation validator, a balance of approximately 0.1 tau. And then again on subnet 1, I have some on the Rizzo validator for a balance of approximately 0.1 tau. And now let's quickly unstake both of these. So unfortunately, the interface doesn't show the validator that you're unstaking from here very easily, but I've currently have it set to Rizzo. So I'm going to hit max here and sell, confirm, and approve. And now that that's gone through, you can see I have 0.1 tau here free, and it says 0 delegated to this subnet here, but that's not really true because we have it split between these two validators. So I first need to change the OpenTensor Foundation validator, and then that number should show up here. And there we go. Now we can see it. Max, sell, confirm, and approve. And now you can see my balance is back to 0.2 tau here. Finally, when you want to send your tau to a centralized exchange so that you can sell it, you want to hit this send button up here. Click the tau token, of course. Then in that centralized exchange, they're going to have an address specifically for you to send your tau to so that they can receive it on the exchange and credit it to your account. You're going to paste that address in here. It's going to give you a warning here, so you're just going to double check the address. And then you can send the amount that you want back. So say 0.2 tau, hit review. So it may take up to 5 minutes or so for a centralized exchange to receive your tau. Now, I realize that staking alpha can be quite intimidating if you're brand new to the Bittensor ecosystem. So if you are, just stake to root for now, and then you can look in the description. I have an educational playlist there that will help you get up to speed and become a little bit more comfortable in the Bittensor network.